Hey everybody, welcome once again to Arizona Primate Endeavor. First off, I want to apologize that we haven't got a video up this month, a field video. I did go out, I lost the footage. It was above the rim, the Muggy Island rim here in Arizona. I apologize for that. I'm going to try to go out again the end of this month. Today is Saturday the 13th of December 2025. I'm going to try to go out the end of this month sometime and go down below the rim because that's where the action's probably going to be because it's warmer down there and that's where the animals migrate to. So anyway, I want to tell you about this encounter that my grandfather told me about that happened to him. This happened somewhere in Arkansas. I'm not sure where. I wish I'd have quizzed him more about that. My grandfather was somewhat of a stern person. He was a no bullshit kind of guy. He would tell you like it is, basically. I know for a fact he would never lie about something like this. This happened. I'm not saying it was a Bigfoot, but I want to tell you the backstory first to explain why he was walking through the woods at night all the time. Okay. So when he was about 12 years old, he had four other siblings. They were all girls. One was older than him and the other were younger. So his parents both died when he was 12. And I know at least one of them died of pneumonia. I don't know what the other one died of. It might have been pneumonia also. But they lived in a cabin out in the woods, and there were the slats on the cabin. There were gaps between them, so wind would blow through it. I mean, at freezing cold temperatures, it got really cold in that house. So at least one of them died of pneumonia. So he had to go to work at 12 years old to support his siblings. Now, Zora was the older sister, and she stayed home, and she was a really sweet, good Christian lady, Baptist, Southern Baptist, salt of the earth. But she stayed home and took care of the kids while he went to work. Now, back then, it was during the Depression. It was in the mid-30s, basically. And the government had started this. There were no jobs, so the government started what they called the CCC camps, the Civilian Conservation Corps. It was a government program from 1933 to 1942 to help people to get an income to feed themselves, basically. So it was to help young men from 17 to 28, from the age 17 to 28, to help them work and make a check to feed their family, basically. They would build bridges with like concrete and boulders they'd find laying around. They'd stockpile them and build like small bridges and, stack it with concrete and whatnot to make bridges. They would make forest towers, the ranger towers. And back then they didn't have power tools, so they'd have to use the saw that two guys were using to cut the notches in the logs. They'd have to use a brace and bit basically to drill because they didn't have power drills back then. And then they'd have to bolt them together with wrenches and build these tall towers by hand, basically. So it was real grueling work, but it kept people fed here in America because people were starving back then, starving to death. So they built all kinds of infrastructure to help cities and towns stay up to date, basically. So my grandfather, being 12 years old, he had to lie about his age to get in because he had to be at least 17. Somehow he made it work. He made a living for himself and his siblings. Back then, there were very few paved roads. Some of the highways were paved, but most of your roads were dirt, and they were rutted, because the cars, they were like, 32 Fords, and so they had these really thin tires, and they didn't steer very well, basically beat the hell out of you driving down the road because it would catch the ruts and pull your tires every which direction. But my grandfather didn't have a car because they were poor. So where my grandfather lived, It was pretty wooded. And he used to walk through the woods to go to the CC camp because it was shorter to go up the mountains through the woods and whatnot to get to the CC camps rather than to go to the highway, which was a miles longer route to get there. So he'd take a shortcut through the woods. And at night, he had learned the trail so much that he could travel it at night, even though it was so dark you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. He knew his way just from memory. So every day he'd walk through the woods to go to the CC camp. He'd work for the day, and then it would be dusk when he would start walking home. So it was nighttime when he was walking through these woods back home for miles. So the scary night, he told me about one time he was walking through the woods, through the wooded mountain trail, and it was so dark you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. He knew the trail by heart, like I said, because he had walked this trail so many times that it was ingrained in his memory. So he knew it like the back of his hand. He said that he got to a point in the trail where it narrowed, and while he was walking along, he started hearing footsteps paralleling him in the woods. He said that he would take a few steps, and this thing would take a few steps, because he would hear the leaves rustling on the ground, crunching below its feet. He said he would take a few more steps, and it would take a few more steps. He would stop, and it would stop. So at this point, he was starting to get a little worried. So he sped up his pace to a brisk walking speed. All of a sudden, the footsteps got louder and faster, and they were heading in his direction, getting closer and closer. When all of a sudden, something hit him on the top of his head, and he heard it running off into the woods as if it were running past him. So it ran past him. As it was running, it hit him on top of the head. That would scare the living you-know-what out of me, and anybody else too. He said that he'd never been so scared in all his life. And he made it home in record time that night, which I would have too. I would beat Carl Lewis home for sure. He said that he thought it might have been a bobcat, but he couldn't see it, so it could have been anything. What reminded me of this story was that I saw some Bigfoot reports where people said that Bigfoot ran past them quickly and hit them with his hand as they ran past him, as if to maybe warn them that this is my territory. I don't think he meant to hurt him so much as maybe it was a warning that you're in my territory, so... Now, I'm not saying what stalked my grandfather was a Bigfoot, and he never mentioned Bigfoot at all, but if he couldn't see anything at all, the possibility could be there if they exist, Whatever it was scared him so badly that from that point on, he walked along the highway to and from the CCC camp to work every day and every night. Even though it was a lot more miles to go that way, it scared him that bad. And this was back in the 1930s, which was way before anybody ever heard of Bigfoot. So maybe that's why my grandfather didn't say anything about it possibly being a Bigfoot, because he didn't know what that was, what they were. I mean, we'd heard, him say things like, everybody's heard, don't go outside at night, the boogeyman's going to get you. And I think that might have... Maybe that came from early Bigfoot sightings. I don't know, but that's what we were always taught. But even on the highway, it was walking the highway home at night. It was extremely dark at night. He said that he felt the edge of the road with his feet. He felt the edge of the road with his feet. He felt the gravel on the edge of the road so that he knew he was going in the right direction and not veering off of the highway. He said that one night it was so dark that he walked face first into a road sign. I think I've done that before. And me being a smart ass, I said, so that's what's wrong with your face. And he didn't think that was very funny. But anyway, I just thought I'd share that story with you because it's pretty intriguing. And, this was Arkansas in the deep woods. And there are a lot of reports of people sighting Bigfoot. and it was more than likely in the Ozark area, which is a vast mountain area in Arkansas. And you got Lake Ouachita there. We used to walk to Lake Ouachita because we lived in a small cabin at one time there. And just awesome fishing there. And, we'd walk about 10 minutes and we'd be at the lake fishing. We lived that close to it. And you got the Fouke Monster in southwestern Arkansas, by Texarkana. Also probably known as the Boggy Creek Monster, in that 70s movie, The Legend of Boggy Creek. So there's a lot of sightings in that area, and Oklahoma too is right next door to it. You got all kinds of wooded area there, so the possibilities there. But anyway, just want to say we'll have another video out with some field footage, probably at the end of this month. If not the end of this month, early next month, in the new year. So I want to apologize again for not having a field video up this month, because I want to try to get one at least once a month. And if you get time and you've got back problems, go to our website and order your spinal decompression device. It helps us to fund this Bigfoot stuff. And I also got a infrared thing you plug into your phone, so I can use my phone for infrared. So if something's peeking out from a tree, we'll see his ass in red. And then I've got the night vision, and I've got the parabolic mic also, and I've got a 4-way that I can plug into this video camera, so I can use these microphones, the earphones, and the parabolic mic all in the same camera, so you can hear me talk, and I don't have to pull the trigger on the parabolic mic for you to hear me talk. So I can use that parabolic mic and talk into these at the same time, or just use these without the parabolic mic. That way we get some good footage for you guys, and if we hear anything, we can, put that parabolic mic on it and film in that direction, see what we come up with, and hit it with the infrared or the night vision. So I'll probably put the night vision on a tripod, and then I'll use the infrared phone, and I'll have these microphones clipped to me somewhere, and have this camera here somewhere pointed at me maybe, or pointed at the woods. I don't know how much you're going to be able to see at night, but I'll get some daytime footage too. So stick around. You guys have a great day. Bye.